Aloha. With this video, I wanted to expand off the last video and take it from more from the societal perspective into the individual relationships, and also maintain the perspective of the society, and just take a look at the relationship that we have. Excuse me. The relationship that we have when we wake up in the morning, that you have with yourself, that you have with your loved one, that you have with your children, that you have with society, that you have with your job. Everything, excuse me, everything that's a part of your reality is about a relationship. Depending on the individual, the relationship will reflect what's happening internally and externally with the individual. You have two individuals in one relationship, you're going to have some kind of something's going to happen. Whether that's going to be an amazing relationship or a horrible relationship. And we have relationships with our dreams. We have relationships with education. We have relationships with your energy centers. You have relationships, with everything. And the society, once it has done so many things, once it has been so abusive to the people that make up that society, things need to be brushed under the rug. They need to be pushed to the side, and it becomes part of the society now. It doesn't go away. Whatever happened doesn't go away. Like what led up to the sandcastle of control and power of today, it's not going to go away. It's just going to be, they're just going to look the other way, which is exactly what's happening. And why there's so much distraction that needs to be expanded in our reality is because the more you look directly at the system for what it is, the more you'll be able to see how the system is using you to maintain its own pedestal, to maintain its own throne. So you have to be distracted and loving this system. You have to love the way it whips you. You have to love the way it beats you into submission. The more you're distracted and simultaneously loving this system, the more you're going to be allowing the system to grow and get stronger. Because as it gets stronger, your scars heal. They don't heal over, but they scab over, and you ask for more of this growth in this system, because that system represents a part of you. So that system beating you is because largely they can do that because they have installed all of these different programs into you. Guilt, lack of empathy, lack of strength, lack of meaning, lack of purpose. This is at the essence of these these sadists and these masochists and these narcissists that have zero concern for nature, zero concern for life. It's all about profit. It's all about yourself. So when you see this definition right here, I'm going to go through a whole string of little write-ups relating directly to this kind of mentality. So the last video was talking about stress. It's just very general. It's just obviously everything is about stress. The more you're stressed out, the more you're out of balance, the more you're going to be able to just say, oh, whatever, just go on to the next thing. That's exactly where people want to. That's hopeless. It's helpless. It's giving away everything that you are in this reality to whatever they provided for you. So sadism. Sadism involves gaining pleasure from seeing others undergo pain or discomfort. Everyday sadists don't always exhibit physical aggression. They often display aggressive social behaviors and enjoy publicly humiliating others in order to achieve a sense of power over them. What do you think is happening with all of these politicians and actors that are being brought into the spotlight, excuse me, based upon what they've been doing, as if these people don't know that they've been doing it? Like when they're talking about Harry Weinstein, they're asking all these actresses now and these actors, they knew about this. This has been known. This is the societal norm in that circle of people we call celebrities, in that circle of people we call politicians. The way it's allowed to expand itself is by, like I said, distracting and desensitizing you. So comedy is the biggest desensitization program that's out there right now. So if you saw on the trending page right now, the number one trending video that I saw as of now was Saturday Night Live's Donald Trump Scrooge skit. And in that skit, in the beginning, they joked. They literally mentioned Pizzagate and Hillary Clinton and used a character that was in that little circle who's going to jail because of his connections to Pizzagate. They joked about this. So the system is not only aware of it, it's aware of it, and it's aware that the people are aware of it, so much so that they can joke about it, and people are still not going to do shit about it. Because once it's joked, they kill it. Once you make a joke out of it, you kill it. And the people behind the strings, pulling the strings of Trump, pulling the strings of Saturday Night Live, the mainstream media, TYT, Alex Jones, and all these other mid-level at best information streams or manipulation programs, the beings, the entities, the intelligence that are pulling the strings, beyond that, exist in this world of sadism. They exist in this world built upon these definitions, because it's about power. Once you get that high, once you get all the money in the world, there's nothing, you lose something. You lose, there's nothing else where you can buy anything, you can have anything, but it's all external. Largely those people don't go internal because they need the external to build up who they think they are and who people see them as. So they don't even know what the internal is. So once they get all the power or the money in the world, then they start seeking power. This is why you have the politics that is heavily ingrained in Hollywood, and these gangsters, these mafia, this mob, this whole pirate industry of control. They are the front man to make you think like they aren't gangsters, they aren't thugs, just because they're in suits. You believe them. You believe everything that they say. You believe it even more because Saturday Night Live and people like Stephen Colbert and John Oliver joke about it on television, and you really trust them. You barely trust politicians, but you really trust Trevor Noah and John Oliver. You really trust Stephen Colbert. So they're using them to gain your trust in the system overall. Meanwhile, three layers beyond that, they're pulling the strings, having fun with your demise, having fun sending your kids to war, having fun sending drones overseas and dropping bombs, having fun watching the police officers be mentally programmed to take people out and then get off over it after and in the aftermath. This is a game to them. Once they get so much power, they need more and more power. The only thing to combat that is to destroy the system of power that these illusions that they have built up around themselves. This is why things are getting so unstable right now with flat earth hitting the scenes, and it's not a mistake. They're using that as another distraction, as another thing to prep people for buying into the next program, whether it's simulation theory, transhumanism, whatever it is, or all of the above. what it boils down to is the system itself growing, not being held accountable, having so much distraction in your reality that it actually grows around whatever you've been distracted with, and nothing gets accounted for. There's no accountability anywhere. So this is an example of this is how they subconsciously program you, as like in the new Justice League movie, which is fucking horrible in many different ways. But in the beginning, there's nothing really to go into. It's just just a little kid superhero movie like any of the other ones. But one of the main mind control programs that they put in front of you is the Superman's dead in the beginning of the movie, and what they put out in the movie was when he died, chaos ran rampant in the streets. So basically and I've said this in previous videos, Superman represents the United States of America. This is why he says truth, freedom, and justice, and he wears red and blue, and he's, the white guy. He's the Superman. So anyway, that's how they make you think, things can't change so badly, because then it'll just go into chaos. If the dollar fails, everything will go into chaos. If the government's held accountable for what it's been doing, when it's basically telling you war brings peace, we got to keep having war, because then otherwise the terrorists will win. The terrorists will have control of everything. So it's okay. We just need to maintain that. That's how they keep people lost in that world. They have the generations lost in that world. How many young kids are going to go out there and see Justice League and then see that, and by the time they're 18 or whatever age they are, they're going to watch this system crumble, and then a lot of them are going to defend it because they've been programmed by the Justice League and all the other movies that are out there. Star Wars, we can't lose Superman. We can't lose Barack Obama in the United States. Our values are so much better than the rest of the world. The rest of the world doesn't have freedom like we have. Largely the reasons why the rest of the world is so jacked up is because of the colonial program that has gone overseas and jacked them up. This is why you have third world countries, because the first world countries said, fuck you, we're taking your resources. We don't care about your life. You follow our rules or you die. So just shut your mouth and play your little game while we do our thing. It's what thugs do. This is what real gangsters, some real gangster shit right there. That's what's been going on, which is why so-called black people have to be televised as gangsters and thugs. That's the distraction from the political gangsters and thugs. And meanwhile, these images, just keep in mind, these images are to help you see like the undertones of what's really going on here. These are like the psychological observations of what this society is really about. When you see the narcissist has a total lack of concern for the pain he inflicts on you, your children, your friends, and your family. Does that sound familiar? They don't feel guilty, remorse, or shame. They feel no empathy for anyone's pain and don't care about anyone's happiness except for their own. Rich get richer, poor get poorer, has and have-nots. The narcissist doesn't care about what they are, only the illusions of what they seem to be. Hollywood, politics, the university system, the heliocentric deception, the evolution theory. These are all facades. They're all masks to put over their crimes. So they don't really care. At the essence, they don't really care because they know nobody's going to do anything about it. It's only about their face. So, for a narcissist, there's no right and no wrong. Only what they happen to want at the moment. The world revolves around them. This is like the United States. This is how Trump can joke about Rocket Man and make these little jokes when he's talking about, when those jokes are based upon like people's children potentially going to war, dying, thousands of people, potentially hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people over time in war overall being taken out because of this war. This asshole stands up behind a made-up podium, joking, just kind of like poking a stick at somebody like Kim Jong-un or whoever North Korea the dude is, his whole family. That whole system is designed to make you feel a certain way. That kind of action, that joking with North Korea, is like the polar opposite of something like Obama would do. You think that's an accident? It's a mistake? No, he's an actor. It's on purpose. Like I said in a previous video, they bring you together. They brought you together with the idea of unity and change and hope with Barack Obama for 8 years, because they just need something to rally around. It doesn't matter if it's destructive or has the illusion of progress or creation or whatever it is. It's just the matter of being able to gain your attention. Trump does the same thing. And since Trump alone is just a boring asshole, they had to put him, they have to build him up with all of the other outlets that they have. So they have late night talk shows who are only pretty much talking about him, only joking about him. Saturday Night Live, cable news, local news, online, social media. They have to make the movie more entertaining. Social media. This is why all this stuff was built up. Your first black president was entertainment enough. Your first black president after the president who was a part of the 9/11 get down is entertainment enough. It's attractive enough. What is he going to do? Will he do this? Will he say this? How will he act in this situation? 8 years later, nothing happened. So, mission accomplished. Now, here we are with Donald Trump, and they can spend 4, probably even 8 years telling you about Donald Trump and distracting you with him, because there's so many different outlets that make the story bigger. It gives the story like weight, dent, like girth, like it makes it bigger. Like in your reality, when you see Saturday Night Live, social media, internet news, late night talk shows, local news, and the mainstream media and other politicians talking about this one little story, it makes it a lot bigger. And that's on purpose. See, back in the day, they had like just the newspaper. The newspaper was enough because that was the only outlet of news from the system. So that's how they made you send your kids to war, was the newspaper. Then the television came out, or the radio. Then the television came out. They said to put it over the radio, you send your 18-year-old kid into war. Go send them to Korea. Go send them to Vietnam. Go send them to World War II. Whatever it is, the radio told you to. And then the TV told you to. Now the internet's telling you to. And it's not only telling you to do that, it's telling you to do a whole bunch of other shit. And these narcissists behind the scenes they have zero amount of humanity. They have zero amount of any kind of connection to nature. You have to see this. If you can hear these words I'm saying right now in reference to where I'm really coming from, the so-called powers that be behind the scene have zero connection to nature. They have zero humanity, zero compassion, and zero ability to empathize with anything that's happening to the people, boots on the ground. Those are facts. Meanwhile, those are facts to show you how deep these mind control programs and these conditionings are in people's lives, to where they will just say, I don't care. I'm just hopeless. There's nothing we can do about it. Just shut up and go back to work. That's basically the status quo, when you understand that if you were just to ask children basic questions, like I just said about, like, do you think they care about you when you look at the ocean? When you look at the land, when you look at the story of the Native Americans, when you look at the story of the indigenous people across the earth, when you look at the story of heliocentrism, when you look at the food, your fluoridated water, genetically modified foods, like all of this stuff, is it for your benefit or is it for your demise? You're dealing with narcissists. Same thing that happens in a relationship is the same thing that happens. This is your relationship with the people across the earth is based upon what they're telling you. This is a toxic environment. It's like toxins in your blood. You might be able to put makeup on your body. You might be able to put some fancy clothes on, but you got a lot of disgusting ass men and women walking around looking, like celebrities, but they're inside, they're done. Their blood, their immune systems are completely broken down, and that's largely what this whole system boils down to. Like how I see it when I woke up this morning, it's like the more you build up your immune system, that's basically like intelligence. It's intelligence for your non-physical bodies. So how I'm seeing it, when you wake up in the morning and come back to this experience, you're challenging yourself to either build up your immune system or take the little Flintstone drugs and all the other prescription drugs that they're telling you to do. The only way you can build up your immune system is if you do the work yourself. And a non-physical immune system needs to be built up with non-physical information, non-physical exercise, non-physical, like, see, these are the going into the higher mind and into your spirit, which is why mainstream religions are based upon largely about physical, like drink the blood, eat the bread, put the money in a basket, pray, put the water on your head. It's all about some kind of physical ritual. But in every day, you have that relationship with the Most High. And that's where it really matters. Are you going to care about the one day out of the week or the 99% of the rest of your life? Well, the way it's sold to you is just pay your little one day a week, wear your little suit, take your little kids to the church, make them put that stuff on their body, in their body, listen to this stuff. That's to build up the artificial immune system. It's not real. It's artificial, and it will only go so far. So the artificial immune system is basically like colonialism, the Western civilization. The artificial immune system is designed to keep you safe from artificial dangers, artificial diseases. So these artificial diseases are like when they made the movie Armageddon and told you that they were going to go up and land on an asteroid or a meteor that was just going to destroy the earth. So they sent up Bruce Willis and Ben Affleck to go dig a hole into an asteroid and blow it up. But this is a real thing in like the university system. They're really scared of this. This is why they're talking about lasers and all this other stuff. Same thing goes with all the terrorists and creating ISIS and creating the war on terror. They have to create this artificial threat so they can create an artificial immune system. This is why all of the diseases are allowed to run rampant while the cures for these diseases like HIV and cancer and all this other stuff, they're kept hidden. It's because they make a profit off of your stress culture. They make a profit off of your broken down immune system. So any kind of healthy anything on a natural scale will be completely removed from your society. So toxic people manipulate two types of helpers to do their dirty work against the victim. One, innocent people who don't see the abuse, and two, people who purposefully ignore the abuse. This is society as we see it today. Innocent people who don't see the abuse because they're not privy to that information. They're so like taking it to the extreme. People that are so sweet, they just don't They don't live like that. They don't think like that. This is how you can see about the indigenous people who aren't concerned with, controlling the world. They're not concerned with the resources of the world. They were taking care of themselves, and then traveled here and there and met other people around the world, but they weren't trying to conquer and overtake them. You have a definite system that's alive today that has that in their blood. It's in their system. They want to do that. That's their style. And that's what we're living under right now. So you have the people who are just completely innocent. You can see even further, you could just take that as children. The innocent as children who are being forced by their parents and the society to get these vaccines and whatever else they're the innocent children who are forced to go to the education system. These are the innocent. Those are the ones who are just unaware of what's going on, and they just follow through because that's what they do. And then you have the people, you can see this as the grown-ups now. The grown-ups who purposefully avoid it because they don't want to lose what the broken system has given them. They don't want to lose that. So they ignore this stuff. They continue to celebrate Columbus Day. They continue to celebrate Thanksgiving. They continue to celebrate all these half-ass holidays, these broken, like Christmas and 4th of July and like all these empty ass things that are all commercial. They just continue to do this stuff. So this is the world. This is like these two examples you hear, like children and grown-up children. Number 1 and number 2, the innocent and those who look the other way. This is what's happening right now. And the narcissists are allowed to run rampant. The sadists are allowed to run rampant when you have people who are unaware and people who are aware but just choose to look the other way. So this is an example of like television, social media, the storylines that get put out in your face, not just the straightforward ones that come through the news and alternative news and conspiracy theories and stuff like that, but subconsciously these stories are being these perspectives are being amplified in your world. So you should feel lucky, like you should feel lucky basically that you're growing up in a first world country, or that war brings peace. Be lucky that we brought democracy to your land. Be lucky that we took out your leader of your country in Libya, so that now you have slave trading going on again. You should feel so lucky to have our engagement in your reality. These are thugs, gangsters. It's basically like Dr. Phil. If Dr. Phil was a thug and a gangster, like behind the scenes, like how manipulative like that thought process could get. That's basically what it is. And this is what Dr. Phil's doing too, just in regular real life. Don't be so sensitive. So this is that whole like, we're going to go to war regardless. Stop talking about, nature and balance and harmony and spirituality. Don't talk about that stuff. That's just, we're talking about technology. We need to get better computers. We need to get a better, stronger military. We need to go to Mars. We need to build spaceships. We need to do this, everything involving the university system, the system that's already in place. Everything involving what's already in place needs to be amplified and cheered along. And you need to feel guilt for not believing everything that comes out of that system. So this is why when you talk about flat earth to some people, or you talk about technology in reference to Western civilization, your response or people's response is, well, don't you have a computer? Don't you have a tablet? So you're not this and that and that. See, that's what they've been programmed to say. No different than a narcissist telling somebody else, you should feel lucky to have me as a boyfriend. You should feel lucky to have, this system as your slave owner. You should be so lucky. Don't be so sensitive. I had to sneeze, but excuse me. Hope that wasn't too loud. Anyway, it doesn't bother anyone else. Why are you so upset? So all the people that are watching social media, television, seemingly unconcerned because they're so distracted or their immune systems have been so broken down that they're constantly sick. This is what we're dealing with right now. Well, if life isn't fair, get over it. Sound familiar? 500 plus treaties broken with the Native Americans. Well, life isn't fair. You have technology now. Shut your mouth. Get over it. This is the new world now. You'll be okay. So this is the emotional abuse through invalidation. You have no right to be complaining about anything because look how much we've done for you. Look at what you have right now. You're complaining. Other people don't have anything. How dare you be so ungrateful? Well, that's what they're selling to people. Did anyone find their narcissist wouldn't respond to positivity from you, but happily respond to your anger? This is what's happening when you protest. This is what happens when you bring... These are why all these holistic doctors are being taken out. All of it is a design to maintain control. These are control masters. When you're talking about power, you're talking about control, manipulating the movement of energy. They've manipulated the movement of energy for many centuries now. 400 years of slavery, 400 years of psychological warfare on not just the slaves, but the people who weren't slaves, the people who were just living here, who turned themselves into saying that they are African American when they were actually indigenous peoples. This is because of all of these psychological programs that I've just been sharing with you in reference to narcissists, sadists, and how this works. This is an expansion of the psychological warfare. So last video was talking about the stress culture overall. It's just the examples of what we're surrounded by overall. This is the platform for that. This is how it's allowed to continue to expand. So what maintains control and power over the dialogue is to make you feel a certain way, to keep you in a particular position. So this is why so-called black people have to feel like thugs and gangsters and that like they're a threat to society. And then because you have a response from so-called white people who will take fear and amplify that, and then you'll have the response of the other side. People who are going to celebrate that and just use that as a strength, and then, you know, come together as like a gang or a crew or a squad or whatever, and then just say fuck it. And then you have other people who are just gonna be like, well, why is this stuff existing? Well, we can't do anything about it because they're already looking at me that way. I know I'm not a criminal just from wearing a hoodie and walking down the street and having darker skin. But we still got to deal with that shit because the program goes into it. It works on every angle. So this is why they will respond to your anger, but not your love or your positivity or your intelligence, because anger maintains power, their authority over you. they respond to your anger, then they are making themselves out to be the dominant power group, while you are always just looking for them to fix something for you. So they respond so they can whip you to your anger, but they won't respond to anything else, because anything else will validate your intelligence, validate your existence outside of their illusions that challenges their very nature. Narcissists are highly acclaimed actors and actresses, Hollywood, activists. Every single post you see on their social media is specifically designed for the destruction of your psyche. Mainstream media, politics, the university system, heliocentrism, colonialism, destroying your history books, installing new history. All of it's designed to destroy your psyche. The whole theme is to have you believe you weren't good enough and that they finally found the love of their life. So this is how you are primitive, you are savage, you are a heathen, and the love of our life of today is Western civilization, is mainstream religion, is technology, going to the moon, going to Mars, Elon Musk. Elon Musk is the love of your life today. A new iPhone is the love of your life today. And you weren't good enough. You're not good enough without it. I still have a flip phone. And I still, every time I go out and I'm somewhere out in public and somebody sees it, it's kind of like, it becomes a thing. Like you can see where people are. Some people are like giving me high fives because they probably have a flip phone. And then the other extreme is, ew, you have a flip phone, and they just don't want to talk to you. This, like, those are the extremes. Everybody falls somewhere in between, but most people just kind of laugh, and they're in the middle ground to where they're basically just saying, well, like, you're a dinosaur or something like that. But you know, whatever. That's how people are controlled. So the love of their life, is the love of themselves. The love of themselves is based upon the things that make up themselves. So people love their cars, they love their shoes, they love their rims, they love their phone, they love their makeup. Some people can't love themselves. They can't look in the mirror without makeup. Like, when they're putting makeup on, they're not really looking at themselves. They're looking at what they're going to be. But they can't look at themselves normally and be happy because of the generations and all of the days and the hours that have gone into covering yourself up. Like, that's love right there. It's a lack of love right there. And the shift goes into the love of the thing, the material, the makeup, the car, the Instagram likes, the social media attention, all of this stuff. All of this is designed to create an artificial version of yourself. You'll see them doing things like things you always asked about but never received from them. That trip you wanted to take, they'll post pics of plane tickets to your dream destination alongside a photo of their new shiny partner. This is the whole celebrity world, Hollywood, living vicariously, keeping you down. You'll never have what we have. Yeah, there's either poor people or rich people. That's it. There ain't no in between. And even if you're in between, people are so rich, you still feel poor. So that's basically what it is. These are these narcissists. And this is what social media has done. It's created a platform for narcissistic behavior. It validates the culture, the society as a whole. This is what social media is. They disliked your children. You'll find photos of the two of them at the school play, the epitome of a happy family. Never mind, they only been in official couple for 8 days. So it's all about this childish sort of engagement. It's all external. It's all narcissistic. It's all about pain, ultimately inflicting pain. What do you think that, like, controlling the slaves, whipping the slaves, chaining the slaves, like raping the women, feeding the babies of the slaves to alligators, human babies. This is what we're dealing. This is the mentality we're dealing with. It's not that long ago. Not that long ago. And people ask all the time, like, why did this happen to me? It's simple. You put your trust in another person and doubted they would intentionally hurt you. That's what the system is doing. You put your trust in the system. In a genocidal, maniacal system that has been proven to not give a shit about you, nature, or anything else involving the harmony of this existence. They invent all of these different kinds of theories and illusions to control you, thinking that things are going to change. See, this slide right here, this sort of what happened to me. This is the future question of the people who are in the top brass of the mainstream or flat earth mainstream, hoping that it'll go mainstream. In a few months or however long, when they take flat earth, they co-opt it and turn it into a Happy Meal. As soon as that happens, the people in the flat earth that were talking about going mainstream can say, well, what happened? I'm so taken. I never saw this coming. I'm so surprised that they would do this. Are you? Are you really that surprised? Intentional. While you was playing checkers, they was playing 3-tiered chess. And very soon you're going to be playing I had no idea. Well, yeah, you did. You are involved with a master deceiver who is not like you, but pretended to be. You are asking inhumane beings to act humanely. Alien intelligence, basically. Some kind of, it's a parasitic consciousness. It only can survive off of your destruction. You're asking that consciousness to do something for you. You're asking for your own enslavement. You're asking for your own demise. Once they thought you discovered the truth, the devaluation and manipulation ramped up. This is social media. This is where they're trying to distract you by telling you that, people are being held accountable, like Kevin Spacey and Weinstein and Matt Lauer. They're trying to distract you and make you think that things are changing because you're starting to see more. It's not true. They need a thriving soul like yours to make them feel human. And they will take from you until there's nothing left. That's a parasite. You are the host. Until you recognize that system, you will continue to be the host to this parasitic consciousness. And nothing will ultimately change. It's not in a narcissist's nature to admit they are in the wrong. Try confronting one with the truth of their behavior. Sound familiar with television, politics, heliocentrism? Look at Neil deGrasse Tyson, the biggest narcissist out there. Shit just oozes from his pores how narcissistic that dude is. Watch them rant and rave about your faults and how crazy you are. This is gravity. Crazy person. Watch them run away. Narcissists are cowards. They're cowards because they can't look at themselves. They have to feed. Parasites in themselves is cowardice. The parasitic consciousness is cowardice because it can't live on its own. It can't do its own thing. It has to live off of something or somebody else. This is the cowardice of this system. America number one, the United States, make America great again. Parasiting off of the land, off of the native peoples. This is where gentrification comes in. This is where culture vulture stuff comes in. This is where the mainstream music industry and all this stuff, they just steal all of everything and then sell it back to you under another title. And then it's only going to last so long because they didn't make that up. They didn't come up with that. It's not organic. That's why they got to put all these fake celebrities out in front of you. Fake musicians. Because they know it has a expiration date. It's going to die very soon, and they can just start up something new again. And that's how the parasitic consciousness works. It needs something to sell you over and over again. I only hire the best people. Felony, lying to the FBI, money laundering, tax evasion, foreign lobbying, false statements, money laundering, tax evasion, foreign lobbying, false statement, felony, lying to the FBI. All this. These are gangsters. They hire their best friend gangsters. It's distraction. Which flag is more racist? Well, one is they're both one and the same. But for an observation purpose, this is the Hegelian dialectic that they have in dealing with the North and the South. As if the Civil War wasn't a big-ass ploy to distract you from the fact that this wasn't their land to be fighting over it for in the first place. So they had to make it more complex. We are the South. We're the Southerners. And we're the Northerners. We believe in these truths. And you believe in those truths. And we need to be better than that. So we're going to go to war. Boom, 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 boom. Civil War. 400 years later, where we at? People just holding flags. Don't know what the hell they mean. Just holding a flag because their great-great-great-grandfather held a flag. Simple ass, basic ass bitches. Simple ass people, man. I can't stand this shit. Chattel slavery, genocide of Native Americans, Japanese internment camps, Agent Orange with Vietnamese civilians, 1 million dead Iraqis, more black prisoners than black college students, prison industrial complex, military industrial complex. The list goes on and on and on and on. This image was just to show, like, you know, whatever about the Confederate flag. I don't give a shit. Both are the same to me, which is why I'm using it, so you can see how the system works. Make you think it's a difference. Ain't no difference. It's the same shit. Same thing. Mainstream religion is child abuse. Put that little baby in that little suit and take him to church. How many kids are being locked into that world right now? Today's Sunday, right now. They're sitting there right now, trying to stay awake, not fall asleep. It's child abuse, man. It's mind control programs. 666 Fifth Avenue, New York City, where Lucent Technologies is working on their RFID chip for every American. And they use an operating system called Inferno. The building is owned by Jared Kushner. I think it's a different Jared Kushner. Like some kind of I think he's a European Jared Kushner, some kind of president of some sort. Anyway, this not to go into the fear porn of RFID chips and everything, just know that this is another thing that's out there. And this is how they work in the non-physical immune system. With fear, playing your emotions and bridging the gaps between the physical and the non-physical with this kind of stuff. When they put this stuff in your body, when they're putting vaccines in your body, they're asking you, are you going to give your body away? That's a contract. If they're asking you to put, technology, that's a contract. And they can only do that if you allow them to do that. So they'll push the limits every single angle they can. Every angle. And it's not any one thing. It's not like, oh, the RFID chip is the mark of the beast. No, the mark of the beast is you giving away all of your meaning and purpose to the system overall. You want to focus on any one thing. That's do whatever you want. But the system itself is a beastly narcissistic system. And this is how they're putting it, like prepping. Like I said, they get these generations. Imagine that you work for a human microchip company. The president has given you the opportunity to make a televised speech to the nation. What would you say to persuade people to get the microchip? This is in school. This was an assignment in a public high school, 10th grade. You don't think you still can't see the education system as part of that program? From one illusion to the next. Monkeys to cavemen to you to robots. It's very simple. It's easy to accept, right? Are you going to ask any questions? No. Why? Because you'll be ungrateful if you ask questions. You have a tablet, you have a Facebook account, you have this, you have that. Don't ask questions. Shut your mouth and do what you're told. Ignorance is the best policy. Knowledge is bad. Never be prepared. Mind control programs. This is the education system. And anybody who starts asking any kind of questions, they'll be dealt with in some kind of way. Whether they're taken out or abused in some kind of way. This is an abusive culture. It's a slave culture. It's a diseased, chaotic, stress-filled, broken and narcissistic culture that has no intention on listening to anything that anybody is saying that challenges the system itself. None. Unconcerned with your meaning, your crying and your this and that. No, we're in control now. We did it. They're just like big bullies. Bullies get powerful from beating up other kids, and then other kids around them just shut their mouth and just either jump on their team and want to be friends with the bully, also a defense mechanism, or they shy away and cower. So this is the difference between the old generations and the new generation. This new world, this new generation. It's not about connecting with nature. I'm not saying that the old generations were perfect and all that other stuff. I'm saying that there were some things that those cultures were connected to that today they're not at all. They want to avoid them because you can make a profit off of avoiding those connections. Can't make a profit off of healthy people. Only 3 countries left without a Rothschild central bank. That's who's punching them. The system is punching them. So while all of this stuff is going down, this is the abuse that's happening. They're tearing down the banks in other countries and putting in these central banks so they can have control. Same thing's happening with this Bitcoin stuff. You think this is a mistake, a coincidence that this stuff is going down? If the money itself is not being recognized on the effects that it's had on people, it's just another distraction. And they use this money. They use this money to cover up the events that threaten the validity of them even existing. So the paper is already empty. And they murder people on camera in front of their wives and children. And then it doesn't exist anymore. Because they just quieted them down with their empty paper promises. And then they'll just wash it over. They don't care. Meanwhile, these other people are getting $55 million for whatever. Shows you what life is really about in their eyes. Do they care about life? No. This is what's happening to people. 50 surgeries to look like Angelina Jolie. This is how gone. That face is basically the face of, it's kind of like the They Live movie where they have that mask or the illusion of looking like a regular human being, but they're really kind of like this ugly ass alien. This is what people look like inside when they're sucked into Instagram and Facebook and social media. It's all on purpose. And a lot of the reasons why people go to this extreme is because one of the main ones is because they have no meaning and purpose themselves. They're a mistake. They're chaotic. The only way they can feel happy, the only way they can feel full of something, alive, is if they mimic something else that's alive or something else that's recognized in society. So it's basically what you're looking at, and what I'm explaining right now is the parasitic consciousness leaking over into people, so much so that they will do things like this to themselves. Angelina Jolie is subjected to the parasitic consciousness because she's in the belly of that beast. She just needs to be in there as a representative of that, and they need to amplify her in front of millions and millions of people so that this will happen to them. Whether it happens inside on the micro scale, it still exists. But this is the extreme that it happens. It goes through the spirit, through the mind, into the body, to where they will do this to their body. And people are just doing it on a micro scale, on a shallower scale every day. This is why you have to have all these lotion commercials, soap commercials, shampoo commercials, MTV, VH1, local newscasts, anchors, mainstream media, Hollywood. All of it's based upon a particular look. Look at your anchors. Look at your Hollywood actors. Look at your politicians. Look at your celebrities. Look at your idols. They all have a particular look to them. And because you're trying to be like them, you're not only trying to be like something that's empty, something that's dead, but you're simultaneously trying to be, you're not being yourself. So it's a double negative pretty much. You're trying to be like somebody else, and you're simultaneously not being yourself. Twice separated from your own reality. Notice a trend on stolen land? Notice anything? This is what the illusion of the fiat currency system has done. And people aren't going to ask questions about this. And what is this? Self-made. As if redlining and all the other racist programs that are in this world that set the foundation to something like this happening. As if they didn't exist. Oh, self-made. Okay. That's like Make America Great Again. Like they started having nothing and then they were self-made. As if they didn't have any help by the society that's inherently corrupt. It's ridiculous. So these are the side effects. These are the side effects. This system right here, the richest people in every state, that's the side effect. The faces that you're looking at, that's the side effect for so-called white people. For people who are saying racism doesn't exist. Oh, I'm just as poor as you, and so on and so forth. I'm not saying that The system isn't designed to affect everybody at this moment. I'm saying that, like I said in many other videos, it's very much designed to have a particular effect. And these are the effects. These are the effects and the chaos that happens on the other end of the spectrum. Black women are claiming Margaret Markle as black because she's marrying a white prince. Meanwhile, Samantha Lee isn't black because she married Tyrese. How does that make any sense? See, people are so confused. They have no fucking idea of what to think or how to be anymore. It's all about in reaction to the society. What the society is telling you to think and act like. You can't love yourself if you don't know yourself. How the hell are you going to love somebody else? This is just an example of that. This is people would know what I'm talking about when I didn't make this image, but I felt it necessary to share with people, just like the black doll or the black doll, white doll experiment. If you haven't checked that out, look that up, where they put two baby dolls in front of young kids, a black one and a so-called black and so-called white doll. And then they say, look, which one's the ugly one? Which one's the gank, or which one's the criminal? Which one's the bad one? Which one's the good one? Which one's... And you know what's going to happen. You can already hear the answers in your head because you see it every day on television. This is the more complex version. This kind of stuff, this image you're seeing right now, is a more complex version that exists inside the people. They don't even know it. But it's there. And it's all based upon the system itself. It has nothing to do with the internal aspects of where they're coming from that predate this system. And this is kind of like an example of the system itself. You're taught to forget long before you're taught to remember. This is the education system. Forget everything else that you were told by your family members, anybody else. The only thing that matters, is what we tell you to remember in the education system. That's what makes you successful. Anything else you want to talk about, it's just not worth it. Just don't even talk. So I felt it necessary to share this as another example of possibly the next step after. So now that your immune system is broke down, your power is broken down, you're so vested into the system, you have no idea what happened to Tesla, no idea what happened to the indigenous people. You're just so happy that we're going to Mars and doing all this other stuff, that the next program or the next agenda is being propped to sell in. And this is where I was connecting it with Mark Sargent and that whole simulation theory and his game connection and all that other stuff. He's already said some stuff in relation to that, but that's what I was saying in reference to how they would sell flat Earth. They'll just use what already has been existing there. And this individual said, I think Tesla said it best, the Earth is not flat or a globe, we're in a realm. I would like Antarctica explained, very weird. It seems you just don't get time as human to get into everything. Nature is fractal in nature, no pun intended. I think simulation theory is just a way for science to come to terms with what the ancients have known forever. This is illusion or Maya. Call it spirit, source, not physical energy, hologram, or simulation. It's basically the same thing. I don't think we're in a computer, but information and nature does act in a way like a computer. So again, it's a limitation of words. So this is basically the integration of the new age. So this is the sentiment that was put through this comment is the same kind of perspective that will be sold to the new agers. You're not real. This is not real. So when they tell you that the physical reality isn't real, they're telling you that everything that happens within the physical reality doesn't matter. There will be no acknowledgement of the history, the past, the present, or the future. There will be no acknowledgement of anything. Everything is just a simulation. Don't hold anything accountable. There's no justice for anything. Just be a part of the simulation. Be your best self in the simulation. Meanwhile, the puppeteers behind the scene are going to continue to do what it is that they do to take advantage of you and destroy you. So this is how they're going to sell it to people. And my responses I've had, I went into that. I hear what you're saying, but the point is, when the system attempts to sell the people exactly what you just wrote, they will not realize the fact that the synthetic version of what the ancients, that will be the synthetic version of what the ancients were tapped into. So they'll take the information like from Tesla and from the ancients, the peoples, and they'll put a barcode on it and sell it back to you. Now, is that the same thing that the ancients were doing? Hell no. Obviously. It's got an asterisk near it, and it's meant for profit. It's meant for the parasitic system. This is what's going to happen with Flat Earth. This is what's going to happen with all this transhumanism, technology, and simulation theory. So while people are just, well, I'll read the rest. There'll be so many important things missing, and it will only be propped up in a way to benefit the system, shifting of the current system while simultaneously destroying the essence of what the ancients were really tapping into. I agree with you in reference to the realm aspect, but the system cannot take that observation to the extremes of realization, because they do not. If they do, it will inherently challenge the very pillars and nature of this destructive program. So this is why I said, talking about holistic medicine, talking about righting the wrongs, acknowledging the past, acknowledging the present, acknowledging what they're talking about for the future, ripping up all of these destructive mind control programs. Just that information inherently challenges the foundations of this program, and they can't have that. So they'll continually play the ignore you and distract you game. So I think this is the last slide, but self-love is more than basking in your light. Self-love is identifying where you're fucking up, being accountable for it, and correcting it. That can be a statement for the entire system. And the way that people are not going to pay attention to this is because they have already been implanted with the new age type of engaging in their reality, which hasn't been completely activated into the mainstream yet. Just like Flat Earth is going to go mainstream, the new age is going to go mainstream, and it's already been going mainstream before Flat Earth. It's been for decades now. They just haven't activated yet. You could see this as an example with Oprah and her new network, and her teaming up with Deepak Chopra and Eckhart Tolle. They're gearing up. They just need more time to get more people to be behind the scenes and be just dumb enough to buy what they're selling next. So meanwhile you're distracting yourself. You're thinking you're having a self-love because you think things are changing, but you're actually digging yourself deeper into an illusion that has nothing to do with healing you. It has everything to do with breaking your immune system down from a more complex perspective and shrinking your life force and your entire life down to basically nothing. So a good example of this is, and I'll close it out with this, is that the indigenous people back in the day, they thought about, and even today, they thought about and took into account their responsibility, their relationship to 7 generations out. 7 generations from now is the responsibility of you. You woke up this morning. You have a responsibility to protect this experience, to create a foundation for your great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandchildren all the way 7 generations from now. Indigenous people who are taking care of the earth, and taking care of the waters, asking questions about what they were eating and what's in balance, what does affect here and what doesn't affect there. They were asking questions about that, whereas none of the modern society is thinking about that. It's all about how much money can we make off of this. They see a whole forest. They don't see something natural. They see profit. So we went from living 7 generations today, 7 generations in the future. We went from that to today if the system crashes, you're going to have people dying in 3 days. That's being generous. 3 days. The most mind-controlled people who are locked into this system, deeply rooted into this system, have an average of 3 days of life because of how vested into this system they are. And because the way the system was designed to create that codependency. So they took their giving a shit about 7 generations away and traded it for making a profit off of keeping you dependent on their systems, their theories, their world, their society. And in that, they shrunk your concern, your life force, your engagement in this experience has been shrunken down from 7 generations to 3 days. That exists non-physically. It exists in your spirit. It exists in your future generations. On every level of the soul, the mind, the body, the past, the present, and the future. The way this system has been designed is to have that effect on you. So that's basically what I have for this video. I just wanted to get into the whole immune system kind of perspective, the toxins that are in our blood, the toxins that are in our psyche, and could just kind of like put that up there with the observations of this narcissistic and just living dead society, and make it more personal, because in any of these conspiracy theories and all this other stuff, it's not being portrayed as such. But when it happens in your life, when you see it, when you witness this death and destruction, this completely broken society, you can see it. Then you can see how this is existing within each relationship each individual has with themselves, with other people, with their families, with society, with nature as a whole. And until we hold this system accountable for acting as such, and simultaneously hold ourselves accountable for thinking outside of their boxes, until we do those things, nothing's really going to change. You're going to be having change based upon an illusion, based upon a box. And that box is the system itself. And until that system comes down, or until we start to acknowledge the fact that that system needs to come down, we're just going to be fluffing feathers and not really doing much of anything. So thank you for joining me. And until next time, from all my relations, peace, love, and harmony.